are listening to the Cars of Carlisle podcast, episode 47, with Stewart Howden, Classic Auto Mall.
Cars of Carlisle is your favorite internationally downloaded podcast about all things automotive. Darren and his CFC team are ever searching for interesting automotive happenings, real stories about real car people, and fun features to inform and entertain you. Each week, the Cars of Carlisle crew brings you show topics ranging from car shows to team adventures to auto racing weekends to behind-the-scenes human interest stories from car nuts that live across town, across the country, or even across the globe. Come join the road trip.
Today, you will get a CFC exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of a truly one-of-a-kind automobile consignment facility. We're talking about the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Meet Stewart Howden, president of this world-class vehicle consignment house nestled in Southeastern PA. You're about to learn all about the 336,000 square foot climate-controlled building that can house 1,000 for-sale vehicles under nearly 8 acres of roof. Grab your checkbook, call the bank, secure the loan. It's time to go classic car shopping. So let's get revved up.
Hello, Cubers, and welcome back to your favorite informative automotive podcast. I am your trusted host, Darren, and today my co-driver, Scott, is with me.
Howdy ho, everybody.
And just want to talk about last Saturday, we had the great privilege to go to Morgantown, Pennsylvania. For those that aren't familiar, that is southeastern Pennsylvania, not too far from Philadelphia, just a little bit west of the city of Philadelphia. And we had an amazing time there. What you're going to hear today is an interview with Stewart Howden. He is the president of Classic Auto Mall, and they've been in business now just about 15 months and doing some incredible things down there. Can't wait to share that with you. This is going to be a longer than normal interview because we had such great content with Stewart. How about it, Scott? He gave us the royal treatment.
He was wonderful, so comfortable, drove us around on the golf cart. It was great.
Yeah, we actually went through the entire facility without having to do much effort at all. He had us, like Scott said, we went through the 336,000 square foot climate controlled building because it was a former mall. It has a north hall, a south, east, west wing to it.
And it's attached with internal entry to the Holiday Inn that's there as well.
188 rooms. You can stay there overnight. But people come in, they have hours 6 days a week. And what's really cool is it's very accessible. Stewart talks about, you'll hear in the interview, how he really wants it to be. Part of their mantra is open to people. Families come in, what have you. We were there and they had an expo center where they had a pet day. They had people with their dogs and cats and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of community events happening at the same time. But what an amazing place. Great people.
And there's no entry fee. So it's a great place to go. Take some time.
Just browse, take pictures.
Yeah, it's a consignment place, but it's also a museum portion as well.
They do. And the barn finds alone, it's worth the drive from wherever you might be. If you're coming down through the mid-Atlantic states, definitely stop and check out the Classic Auto Mall. We're so glad to be friends with all of them. So I am really excited to... Scott was part of that trip. Excited for you to be part of that. A big shout out to the West Coast side, to Man Engineering, Gary Liu, and our friends in Santa Clara, California, for all things Subaru performance. Check them out, www.man-engineering.com. So thank you very much to our great corporate sponsors. Oh, before I forget, Scott, let's jump into today's trivia. And as you and I talked on the drive back from Morgantown on Saturday, we normally try to grab these fun trivia facts, but we're going to apply today's to the actual content of the show. So as you're listening, listen carefully. The question is going to be this: what vehicle does Stewart talk about that has a value of over $750,000 that was right there? Well, actually, we went right past it. It's behind the glass partition as you walk in. Notice what that vehicle is. We'll talk about that in our wrap up.
And go down and check it out because it is impressive.
It is very impressive. So we'll look for the year and the model and a little bit of the provenance of that vehicle. That'll be the answer. We'll give that to you at the end of the show. So because a long episode, strap in. It's gonna be fun. Here we go.
This is our main showroom here, and this is where we keep the kind of the best of the best that we have. We've got probably 50 cars in this room. The back of it back here is what we call our vehicle intake or check-in area, and we bring them in, wipe them down, do more if necessary, but bring them in, wipe them down. Then we have a dedicated photo booth right here. It's all white floors, walls,
Okay.
Everything. And take the cars in there, do a full set of pictures, then put them on the lift, do an undercarriage set of pictures, and then out on the floor they go.
And I noticed these little caddies. That's what a great way to move them around.
Yeah, that's called a Stringo. It's made in Denmark,
Okay.
and it was ridiculously expensive. So it took us forever to decide that we wanted one. But when you try to push a '57 Chevy, and I'm not talking just pushing a straight line, but back it into a parking spot on a display in a showroom floor with 5 guys trying to push it, and 20 or 30 minutes later they're still pushing it, and they're hurting their back. And there's fingerprints all over it. Now this thing in 2 seconds.
One man show
puts it right into where you want to be.
Wow.
And I wouldn't trade it for any amount of money now. But it took me forever to decide I was going to buy it.
When did this start? Because when we were coming down, I remember coming down here when it was a mall.
Yeah, it was built in 1984 and opened in 1985 as an outlet mall by Kimmons Wilson, the founder of Holiday Inns. And he actually built the Holiday Inn that's connected to it as well. And this was kind of a new business model, if you will. There was not a lot of outlet malls in 1985 in some of the touristy type towns, but there were, but there wasn't a whole lot of them. It was kind of a new industry that they had started, and it was a great way for all these manufacturers to get rid of overstock product or product that was sent back by Macy's or Saks or whomever. And so it started as that, did very well for a while, and then it became a furniture outlet mall. And then about 2010, a gentleman was going to buy it and turn it into an auction facility where they did dealer auction, later model cars and stuff like that. Put a deposit down, and they kicked all the tenants out, and then he realized what it was going to cost him to do it, so he decided to back out of the deal. All the tenants were gone, and now the guy's got an empty building. So it sat empty for 6 years, and my partner had 400 barn finds, which are part of what you see here, needed a place to put them, and this kind of worked out perfectly. It was one of those kind of right place, right time, and he saw it and said, this would be perfect for my collection, then decided to determine, how can we make a business out of it.
Right.
So we decided to become a consignment house. We could go out and buy cars and all day long, but the problem is you had all the money tied up in the inventory. If you have to fix it, if there's a problem, if the market changes, you're stuck. And so, and nothing wrong with that business model. You can make that work and you can make that successful, but how about let's do a business model where other people's inventory, just like a real estate.
Yeah.
We don't charge any upfront fees. We don't charge any monthly fees. We only get paid when we sell the car, so no different than a real estate type deal. And so that makes our business model work a whole lot better and a whole lot easier and more cost effective. And I've never had the luxury of having this size of a building to do this. It's always 40,000 square feet. You couldn't have a photo booth because that would take up too much.
This is nearly 400,000, right?
Yeah, almost 400,000 square feet. And so you couldn't have a photo booth because you needed, you could only have 60 or 70 cars in there. So the business model was very, very difficult to make profitable unless you had cars that you just knew were going to sell. Right away, you knew that car is going to last here maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Now, if a guy has a car and maybe he paid a little more than the market, he's hoping to try to get a little more, we can put it out on the floor and we can try it for 30 or 60 days, and then we see what happens. And if it hits, sometimes the guy just walks in and says, I'll take that one. And that can happen. And so...
so then do you have a level of standards that you have for people coming in? So
we have different areas of cars. So what we do is, for example, if a guy's got 10 cars, let's say, and 8 of them are showroom quality, but 2 of them are barn finds, don't run, or they're an 85 Cadillac with 120,000 miles, but it's part of the estate and they want to get rid of it. We have 2 outside areas, a barn find operable and a barn find inoperable.
Okay.
And so we can market those in a kind of a different way, and they stay outside, but it allows us to take cars, or just as much effort to market a $2,000 car as it is a $2 million car. And it's actually easier to sell a $2 million car than it is to sell a $2,000 car. So yeah, we have options. We try to keep the level of cars up to we're friends to all segments of the hobby. So if a guy's got a $5,000 Fiero, but it's really nice and a really nice car, and he wants to sell it, sure, we'll take the car. Some people, just say, hey, look, I don't want to deal with the selling part of it. And that's what we take away as the headache of selling, because believe me, it can be a slippery slope.
Now your marketing, you go through Hemmings, you go mostly online?
Mostly online. We have about 60 websites that we we advertise on worldwide, plus our own website, classicautomall.com. And but Hemmings and Classic Cars and Auto Trader and Auto Buy and all of those. I mean, we're just about everywhere you can possibly be, and that the scale of what we do allows us to afford to market it. If you were to go and market your own car on all the places we put your car and take a professional set of pictures,
you'd be inverted.
You'd be $3,000 or $4,000, and still no guarantee that the car's going to sell. So,
that's right.
So you really limit yourself. So you spend that money, and then if it
you
doesn't
bring
sell,
a level of credibility to it too.
absolutely. And the building really does that as well too. This building is as much for the consignor as it is for the buyer.
Yeah.
It's for the guy to walk in and say, "Oh, this is a perfect place for mine."
Yeah.
With us, we call you up and say, "Hey, we got an offer. This is the dollar amount. This is what we're offering you. Give me a call back and let me know." And a couple hours later, you can give me a call and say, "Hey, I'll take that," or "No, I won't." Or sometimes they say right away, "Absolutely, I'll take it." That's the number that makes me happy. So
Now, I think you mentioned earlier when we first got here about 500 vehicles under roof today.
750.
So, okay,
Yeah.
750. Okay,
Yeah.
and your capacity is about 1,000.
About 1,000 to 1,200, somewhere in that range. We haven't gotten there yet, so we don't
Okay.
know exactly what our capacity is. It's somewhere in that range.
How are you trending? Been growing?
We consigned, our first year ended December 31st, and we consigned in our first year 486 cars. We sold 172. So we feel very good about that, and our sales have been phenomenal this year, starting in January. And the consignments are really coming in just about as fast as we can take them. So.
Well, we're going to take pictures, but this room, your
Main
piece de
showroom,
resistance,
yeah.
this room is fantastic.
And believe it or not, Model A's and SL Mercedes are the two kind of number one sellers that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, it's go figure that, right?
First, yeah.
We always thought that the Model A crowd was going to go away. They were older, they were going to die off, and that nobody was going to care about the Model A's anymore. Yet they still do, and the reason being is that the Model A is an easy car to drive. It's an easy car to fix. It's an easy car to maneuver, much more so than a Model T.
And parts availability is amazing.
Unbelievable that what you can get on it. And the Model T, on the other hand, is very difficult to drive if you don't know what you're doing. There's shifters and levers and stuff that can
spark arresters.
Yeah, and all kind. And even with the Model A, it has some of those things, but it's very, very simplistic. It's like the Volkswagen. Very easy car to. Not much can go wrong with it. And if it ran when it stopped, no matter how long ago that was, it'll probably run again today. So that remains a popular car in the hobby segment, and it's affordable.
Yeah, for 19,000, you get into the hobby pretty
Absolutely. You can get into it. You can determine if you really like the hobby, and then if you do, you can graduate to the next car. And that's what we see guys doing. They go from one car for a couple of years, and they go to a little bit higher level, and then the next level, and before you know it, they're into exactly what they wanted. So, but it's a fun hobby, and like I said earlier, we cater all segments of the hobby. Listen, one guy's junk is another guy's treasure, and just because the guy one guy may say, well, that's not much of a collector car. Well, to the guy who owns it, it is, and it's his pride and joy.
And it may have been the sentiment that goes along with it, his first car, that high school car, or whatever it might be.
Why do you think four-door sedans sell? Because somebody's father had one, or they had one on their first date, or there was a reason that somebody wants any particular car.
They're right.
It's just a matter of finding the right person.
We're
for the
emotional
right car.
creatures.
Yeah, we are. And it's not hard. The thing about this is it's a whole different animal. Classic car sales versus new car sales.
Yeah.
New car sales means I got to get, I got to have a vehicle because I got to get to work. I got to take my kids to school. I got to do this, that, or the other. With classic cars, it's easier to talk yourself out of it.
That's right.
It's like, I don't need this.
Right.
I want it.
Yeah.
But I really don't need it.
Am I willing to go without this big cruise or vacation or whatever?
Exactly. What am I going to not do in place of this?
Right.
And then there's other guys that have 50 of them in their garage, and they got so much money it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So it's all relative. It's like anything. There's a lot of disposable income in the world right now, and when I say the world, I mean the world, because
you're actually segueing to my next question, and is. Obviously, we're here in southeastern Pennsylvania, not too far from Philadelphia, but where do you see, how far-reaching have some of your customers been?
Both consignments and sales are going nationwide, and sales are worldwide. So, and the nice thing about where we're located geographically is there's a ton of cars in this part of the world. I mean, this is as car crazy of a part of the world as Southern California or South Florida or Arizona
Yes, sir.
is. I will argue that with anybody till I'm blue in the face.
I agree with you.
But the other nice thing about where we're located is our proximity to the ports for Europe. And so I can generally
Baltimore,
ship a car.
Philly,
Baltimore, Philly, Newark. I can ship a car cheaper from here to Denmark than I can from here to Southern California. Or here to Oregon.
Unreal.
Because the container ship, it just goes in a container and boom, off it goes.
Okay.
And it doesn't have tolls and fees.
That's true.
And, it costs the same to operate that big ship, whether you got 10 cars or 100 cars, probably.
That's right.
I would imagine. I know nothing about ships, but but yeah. So it's a worldwide market, and you figure with 330 some odd million people in this country, and 7.5 billion or whatever the number is worldwide. I mean, there's a huge market for these things. We sell them to Dubai, we sell them to Denmark, Germany, South Africa, South America, Japan. I mean, it really depends on what the car is and what segment of the hobby they really like, and generally speaking, over in Denmark and places like that, they really like big American 50s iron, and South America seems to like early Packards and that kind of thing, and so it's a whole bunch of different types and segments of markets, but that car could go anywhere. I mean, it's a Cobra replica, and it could go to wherever, and you wouldn't be surprised. It'd go to Alaska, or Hawaii. So it's you can't really pinpoint, and it's hard to predict. The ones that you think are going to sell right away are the ones that don't, and the ones that you think there's no way this is going to sell immediately. So what do I know? It's sometimes you wonder if you know anything about the business. So.
Right.
Well, and even seeing the amount of people here just open and walking around and stuff, it gives confidence even to the buyers that they don't have to make a split decision either.
That's exactly right. They can take their time. We say, hey, we're here to help. Whenever you need us, here we are. And we started this in September of 2017, so about a year and a half ago. And we really started taking consignments January of 2018.
Okay.
And far exceeded our expectations.
You've done amazing things in a very short period of time.
Yeah, it really has. And part of it is because we're just really passionate about what we do. We're in it because we love it. Listen, I'll talk a guy out of a car, and I've done it many, many times, where a guy comes up and says, "Oh, I want to buy this for my 16-year-old daughter." No, it's a bad idea. Buy a later model car with a cool stereo and airbags and heat and air conditioning and all the modern amenities, because she's going to hate you for this car.
Yeah.
You think it's cool. Yeah. She doesn't.
Yeah. Without power steering and power brakes.
Yeah, I mean, why subject your child to that kind of car just because you think it's cool? And people are very surprised that I would talk somebody out of buying a car, but it is the right thing to do, because I don't want, God forbid, somebody take out buy his 16-year-old son a Model A like that, and he goes out and he's been used to driving something that's got power brakes and power steering, as you said, and comes up on somebody and hits the brakes, and 4 football fields later, it's still slowing down.
Well, I like your business approach, because you're about making long-term friendships and partnerships as opposed to just a quick sale.
Yeah,
you can do that at a local.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
If somebody's happy, you're going to hear about it, but if they're not, everybody's happy.
Absolutely. And with the power of the internet, listen, we're not going to make everybody happy. We know that. We've had guys who were not real happy, and we said, listen, we covet our relationship with you and our reputation. So what do we got to do to make sure that this doesn't happen? And most people are reasonable. I used to be in the restaurant business, and I'd give away meals all the time, and my partner would just make him crazy. I can't believe you're giving away meals. Have you lost your mind? No. Yeah, somebody's going to take advantage of us, but most of them, it's the right thing to do. I'd ask everybody at the table, how was your meal? And you get, great, fantastic. That's all right. The one guy that said it was all right was the guy who's not a complainer. Wasn't going to say anything, wasn't going to make a big deal about it. So later on, I'd sidle up to him, when they were doing after-dinner drinks, and say, I know you weren't happy with the meal. Here's a comp for 2 free meals to come back. And we turned around a restaurant down in South Florida within about 6 weeks that was losing money hand over fist to being profitable. And we gave away a lot of meals, but we built a rapport with people, and we said, give us a second chance if we didn't make you happy. And that's what we try to do here. And there are some people that are just you're unable to make it happy. I mean, they're just unhappy to be unhappy, and that's part of it. You do your best and forget about the rest. That's my partner saying. He has a little dance, and he says, do your best and forget about the rest. And that's all you can do. And if you can't make everybody happy, then you got to move on. And I'm a perfectionist, and I like Disney clean and green. And when you have a building that's 40 years old, you can't have Disney clean and green.
Right.
But we do our best to try to keep it presentable as best we can in an older building, and also to keep the cars presentable and that type of thing, where we're looking to, showcase what we're doing. When we bring the cars in, they're completely clean and perfect and spotless, and we take them and put them in that photo booth and make them look pretty and put them out on the web. But not only do we show all the good, we show the bad as well, too.
That's true.
And the best compliment we can get on a car sale is it was a little bit nicer than you described. And so you do your best and forget about the rest.
I can appreciate your and your partner's approach to things. It's refreshing.
Yeah,
in
it's
this
fun.
Cutthroat world.
It really is. And listen, we understand that there are people that will say things about you no matter if it's true or not, and eventually it's the first scratch in your car. You just keep moving, and you forget about that.
It builds the
one.
character, the car and the person. Actually.
Absolutely. But we love what we do, and we think we're on to something. We've got a facility that will allow us to have car events, cruise-ins, car shows. We own the Holiday Inn next door, which has walk-through access, 188 rooms. Yeah. So that gives us the ability to do a lot. And then the property across the street, the old Turnpike exit that has been moved across the Turnpike now, we just leased that property, and it's 12 more acres. So we've got 52 acres here and 20 acres of asphalt and 8 acres of a building. So
will that be
very convenient to get to?
Oh,
and very
extremely.
easy to get. Yeah, you can't miss us. We've got a few signs out front.
No,
too,
you do.
And it's an easy drive to get to, whether you're coming from Philly, whether you're coming from Reading, whether you're coming from Carlisle and Hershey area. It's a real easy drive. And people say, I don't know if I can go that far. Well, heck, you can't go across Philly in the time it takes you to come from Philly to here.
No, you can't.
We were here earlier than we thought we might be.
Half hour early.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how that that happens? Of course, you may have a lead foot too. So.
No, that didn't happen.
We didn't say that.
Allegedly.
Hope no state troopers are listening to this.
We've got good friends who are state troopers, so we see them quite often.
Well, do you mind if we just take us around?
Let's cruise.
Let's check out some of your
we've got
your lots here.
Here's a bunch of cars, and I'll try my best to remember every one of them. I can't.
No worries on that.
Used to know my inventory pretty well until I had 350 cars for sale, but over here to our left is we've got some pretty high dollar Mopars, a 70 Challenger RT 426 4-speed car. It's pretty rare, and it's hard to get, a car like that. You just don't find a car like that very often, and when you do, it's kind of rare air, and so it's one of those ones that it's at the top of the market, but if the right guy is looking for that particular car, it's probably the best one to be found.
And we have a lot of Mopar fans.
And we have, I'm sure you do, especially in this part of the world. There's a lot of, there's a lot of Mopar fans around here. I mean, we've got a 446 pack car over here, the black one.
That's gorgeous.
That's a 4-speed car. We got a B5 Blue GTX Hemi, a 69.
I was going to say, that grabbed my eye as soon as we get in.
The one in between is kind of interesting because most of those that you see are replicas, and that is not. That's CSX 2133, and that's a 1964 289 Shelby Cobra. That's in the Shelby registry, documented basically since new. The consignors owned it since 1981, and it's a dynamite car. All aluminum bodied, just a terrific example. But the one on the far end down here is our newest acquisition, and I say acquisition. I didn't buy it, so how can it be an acquisition?
But it could be.
But it could be if I decided I needed to spend $825,000 today. That's a 1958 Lister Jaguar, and it's an aluminum-bodied car as well too. And that they made 17 of those, and that one had an interesting history that it was reputedly owned by the Shelby family, and back in the 50s, and it was damaged. The body was completely damaged, but they still had the frame and the chassis number and all that, which is most of the value in those things is the chassis number. Yeah. So they sent it to England and had that body completely hand formed to the original molds that were done, and it's a stunning car.
It is.
When the Jaguar factory in the 50s caught on fire and burnt, they were building these Listers, and they didn't really have much competition with Jaguar D-types back in the day because of the factory burning down. So this Brian Lister bought, I guess, 17 or 18 Jaguar D-type 3.8 liter motors. It's got 395 horsepower, and it weighs nothing. So the
power to weight ratio is incredible.
The consignor actually detuned it a little bit because it was almost too much power, which I know sounds contrary to what it is we do, but I get that. In my preference, a 289 Cobra is a much more pleasurable car to drive than a 427 Cobra. 427 is cool, and it's the fastest, and it's the baddest, and all this, but it's also hot, and it's temperamental, and it's, a 289 is like a nice balance, and it's got more of the power.
It's tossable.
It's tossable, and it's got more power than at my advanced age. It's like I got on a motocross bike not too long ago, and I hadn't ridden a motocross bike since the 70s. They're not even in the same category. They have got so much power, and I felt like I was a little kid.
Arms coming out of the socket.
Yeah, and I was like barely going. So it's all relative to your perspective and what you've been through and what you've done and that kind of thing.
Of course.
And so 395 horsepower on that car would be quite a bit. Excuse me. But anyway, we'll keep going around. We've got plenty to see, and then we'll get stuck on one, and before you know it, we'll never have gotten anywhere.
That's all right.
This is our tram that we tram people around. This is one of our barn find rooms with all of our trucks, and there's some of the coolest old trucks you'll ever see. A 1918 Hahn, which is 101 years old. A 1910 International High Wheeler with a Surrey top. That's 109 years old. A 1909 Doris, which is one of probably the only one in existence.
That is incredible.
That was built in St. Louis, and the grandfather of George Doris, who manufactured these, the grandson was here not too long ago and has one, and so we know of two now, ours and his.
And the fire engine in the back there?
We have some fire engines. That's an 1876 La France fire. It's a steam-powered fire wagon, horse-drawn. Then we've got some Republic ice truck here, a Vim, which was a Pennsylvania-built pickup truck, 1917, a 20 Maxwell grain truck, a 23 GMC with a C cab, 23 Chevrolet Weidman motorhome. So you think a Prevost has got a slide out, and you were ahead of the curve.
Look at
this
that.
was 1923.
Look, that's incredible.
And look at the seat. Sorry, you listeners can't see the seat, but
we'll take photos for Instagram.
Yeah. And somebody said, you should fix that seat. And I said, you should bite your tongue.
Yeah.
And I'm not touching that seat.
No, you don't.
You don't?
It's authentic and original one time.
Yep.
And it still looks comfortable.
Yeah, and it still looks halfway comfortable. You might want to put a sheet of plastic over it.
That
or
is
something.
crazy.
It's got an armoire in there as well, too, for your clothes and all that. But with the slide out and the vents up at the top.
That was quite the RV for that time.
Yeah. If you had something like that back in the day, you were really, really, really cool. So
that's so neat.
And this room is cars for sale. That's a 1936 Fleetwood-bodied Cadillac, and then a 1940 Cadillac convertible sedan next to it. Back in the back there is a 73 Triumph TR6 with all M3 BMW power, and that thing is a beast.
That would be a tear.
It is a tear. Again, the power to weight ratio is, hard to even comprehend.
That is a cool mod.
But as you can see, the variety.
What's this interesting
it's
little
a
bug
freeway
here?
trike.
Okay.
I know nothing about it.
Okay.
It's got two wheels in the front, one in the rear, and it's yellow. And it's a single-seater with a steering wheel.
Yeah, that looks...
And if you notice, there is no rhyme or reason to our layout. At first, we were going to, lay these out in some kind of order. And now we'll do the barn finds. We are going to rearrange the building and do the barn finds in chronological order, the museum side of what we are. We're basically two places. We're a car sales facility and we're a museum.
Okay.
So we're going to lay those out in chronological order. But the cars that are for sale, we decided that the way we're moving them and coming and going and this and that, no way you can't even get a theme.
No.
And so...
It kind of has people looking, though, a little bit more than going just to a section with the car.
Exactly, just to the Corvette room or just to whatever room. There's a 70 Cutlass convertible that we just sold, dynamite car, and a 58 Chevrolet Yeoman wagon right here that's in barn find patina. But solid body, rare two-door wagon, which is really, really rare. Then, a Henry J.
Oh my gosh, that'll get you down the quarter mile.
Yes, it will. And a GTO convertible, and a couple of sold cars in here, and let's see, we got a Dodge B1B Woody wagon that has 480,000 miles on it.
Oh my gosh.
My family used to drive it to Florida and back, a couple of times a year.
Wow.
And then we've got some home built that my partner built over the years when he was growing up, when he didn't have any money. And so for $50, you bought a bumper for this and an engine from this and a fender from this.
Kind of like mini rat rods.
Exactly.
What's the pumpkin thing over there?
And that's a pumpkin. Don't even ask. It's a pumpkin car that
picture worthy.
we become quite popular during the Halloween holiday.
I can see that.
sneak through here. Sure. We do shows from time to time in here, where it be a home show or a pet show or that kind of thing, because we've got all this space and availability right now. We're not full of cars, so right. There's a great Land Cruiser right there that's all been modded up.
Well, and there's nobody that doesn't want to look at cars. So you have crossovers from whatever might else be in here.
Here's the beauty of cars. I have people all the time that come in here and say, well, I'm not really into cars. You don't have to be into cars. Just be into history. Just be into life.
Mm-hmm. And then they end up being here 3 hours.
Exactly.
And memories. Even if you don't like cars, you remember your grandfather's or your mom's station wagon, whatever it is.
Or your cousin or your neighbor or your, the farmer down the street had this, that, or the other. And
you have to be nuts about them like the rest of us, but still.
Exactly. You don't have to be car crazy to appreciate what it is that we have in here. And just the variety, Bentley Turbo R. Back in the day, that was the car, and a Plymouth Duster, and a Mustang convertible, and an 1800 Volvo, and then a 4-door Lincoln Continental, and then a 92 Vet, and then a sedan delivery, and a Ford Crestline, and an Austin London Taxi.
That's great. That is really cool.
And a DeSoto 4-door sedan, and a 280S, and a 280S Mercedes, and a 2-door Oldsmobile Delta 88, which is rare. But as I always say, there's rare and then there's desirable.
That's
just because they only made
taxi is my daily driver.
Just because they only made 3 of something doesn't mean that anybody cares. I mean, there's a reason that they only made 5 Fuchsia 85 Mustangs, right? So these are some of our barn finds in here, some Pierce Arrows and different types of cars that are really kind of rare and unusual. A Graham Page, a Franklin. The Pierces were interesting because they had the molded-in headlights back in the 20s and 30s. They had the patent on that. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a 32 Chevrolet, and you see a lot of 20s and 30s Fords, but you don't see as many 30s and 20s and 30s Chevrolets.
No, you don't.
There's a 30 Willys right there, a 27 Ford Model T, a 28 Chevrolet.
Red Willys over there too. When we were coming up through.
Yep, and there's a Pierce Arrow with the molded-in headlights. You see how the headlights are molded into the fender?
Amazing.
See how they've got that?
Right in.
See how the Chevrolet would be is they just had it on a bar.
Yep.
And same, there's a 1927 Whippet, a 25 Studebaker duplex with the artillery wood wheels, a 26 Chevrolet, another 26 Chevrolet, which is pretty rare.
Do you happen to know if you have any 58 Chrysler Furies?
I do not.
Okay, because we have a fan that asked us, hey, when you're down there, would you find out?
Unless it's just hidden and I don't know where it is. 20 Overland, 1917 Chevrolet, which was kind of a test model car, and that's a rare piece. I mean, again, it's a 4-door touring sedan, so it's not as if it is a hugely desirable type car, but very rare. Yeah. You hardly see those at all, and there's a 17 Studebaker next to it. Hutmobile right next to it, a 16 Studebaker, a 1923 Star Roadster, which is a rare piece, and our oldest piece is right here, and this one's completely restored. It's a 1904 Cadillac Model A Runabout, and it's really spectacular.
Truly the horseless carriage.
Yeah, and that's London to Brighton eligible, which is the race that they do in England. That's 1904 and older cars are eligible in it, and that's kind of the top of the heap for that. So, we don't know what it's worth. It's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Spectacular.
We're asking 150, but we're open to offers.
That is spectacular.
And then in this room, a little bit older cars, a 1913 Metz. And this is a 1914 Woods Mobilette, which is very narrow. And you see they have
you see the
back seats canted back into
it is,
a little further back than the passenger seat than the driver's seat. Another Metz, a Brush Liberty. And all these cars, our goal was to get them to run. That was the thing that. So they all ran when they came in here. Now some of them have been in here for a year and a half, so they may take a little coaxing. But that's a Waltham Fuchs. I don't remember what year it is, but it was one that you could buy monthly. You could get a new part, so you'd spend like $10 and they'd send you the wheels, and then you'd spend $10 and they'd send you the grill, and then the last thing they sold you was the engine. And it was like a layaway type plan.
Right.
So, and then next to it's
Car by installment.
Yeah. Next to it is a 1911 Sears, which you bought through the Sears catalog.
Sure.
And it's got solid wheels, which
The tiller.
with the tiller control. But the solid wheels is something that my son, who is not into cars, who's 27 years old, does not understand why tires are not solid now. Because as much as I taught them everything about cars, I get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's on the side of the road and I hear semis going by, and he doesn't know how to change the tire on his quoted red car. What kind of car is it? It's red. No, that's not what I asked you. I don't know, Dad. It's just a red car. So, oh well, you can't force your kids to like what you like.
No,
and some stagecoaches in there as well too, and then a whole wing more of cars for sale, and a whole other wing of barn finds down there. It's just they are closed off during this event that we're having here.
Okay.
Another sales showroom floor with everything from a 28 Model A Roadster pickup, 66 Mustang Fastback, 42 Hudson, 2006 Corvette, 54 Ford convertible,
Incredible.
2002 Dale Earnhardt Monte Carlo,
Yeah.
as if you just have to. And a little Highboy Roadster down here,
Yeah,
another
that's
sold
sure.
Mustang. That one's going to Germany, actually.
No
the,
kidding.
The Mustang convertible.
Well, they're getting a nice one.
Yeah, they really are. And these are two high-dollar custom
my.
Corvettes that...
Like resto mods.
yeah, resto mods, which we're seeing in the segment in the hobby, just doing unbelievably well. It's just... You watch, any of the auctions, and you see a bone stock '58 Corvette go for 150, and a resto mod going for 300. It's a little hard for us old purist guys to understand, but it's like anything.
Desire drives the market.
Desire drives the market, and who am I to say what you like or don't like,
That's
or what's
right.
cool or not cool? It's,
That's right.
I learned a long time ago that just because I don't think it's something doesn't mean that it isn't something.
That's right.
That's
right.
Same with these resto mods. I get it. A guy gets out of his brand new whatever, and he gets into a 69 Z28, and he goes, well, this drives like bleep. And then he says, well, let's make it so it drives more modern. Let's add a new suspension to it. Let's add modern amenities. Let's have air conditioning. Let's have, the power's got to be modern, and I don't want to work on it, and I don't want to pump it, and I don't want to deal with a tuning a carburetor. So, what do we do? So let's make this thing something that I can enjoy, but I still look cool.
Yeah.
So, and hence the resto mod. And I'm all for it. Listen, I'm for the tuner cars, I'm for the lowriders, I'm for the, the Model A's.
I look at it, there's room for everybody.
Absolutely.
Just general ballpark price tags on...
$129 on the 58 orange and white Corvette Roadster, and $129.9 on the other one, the red 55 or 54 Corvette Roadster. So,
Beautiful.
but right in that price range, and seems to be a bargain from what we're seeing on TV. They're very nicely done.
Yeah, for C1, C2 resto mods, they're pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and then if you just can't live without it, we actually have two Buick Riata convertibles, which is unheard of.
One for her, one for him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you never even see a Riata convertible, much less you even see many Riatas.
Right.
You have two.
And we have two. So we're cornered the market. We're like the Hunt brothers in silver back in
Yeah,
the
you
early
are.
80s.
Yeah.
We're cornering the market on Buick Riata convertibles. So don't anybody try to step into our
No,
territory.
you got
with
this. This is
'cause
yours.
This is ours, and we're not relinquishing it. And then we have
Grand Sport here.
Yeah, and we have a brand new Grand Sport from the local Chevy dealer because their market is more trucks and stuff that's not a Grand Sport Corvette. So they asked us to help market it for them.
And is it faster than this little Honda here in the front corner?
I mean, depends on where
On
you're
paper.
going.
On paper.
If you're going to that camper, I get there on the Honda, the QA50.
I don't know. They just look like they're kind of placed together there.
Well, there's a reason for that. It's marketing 101, right? The QA50 is interesting because it's $2,900, and those things were about $175 when they were new at that. I had one.
I was going to say, I tore up a backyard with one of those.
I did too. I made a little track around my backyard. But then I really graduated, and my next one was an XR75, and I was really cool.
now you were living.
Because I wanted to be Jeff Ward, who was who's now a car racer. He races cars, but he was the mini bike champion back in the 70s.
Okay.
I mean, he was the guy. I lived in Elsinore, California. Hello, what a perfect place to live because the Elsinore Hondas were so popular. But the XR75 was a great motorcycle, and now they're $5 or $6 grand.
Yeah.
Go figure that.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So
kept yours.
yeah,
We
I
all
know.
say that.
Yeah, should have kept a lot of things.
Yeah.
Except my first ex-wife. So, but we talked about these fire trucks back here, and we can wander back in here.
Sure.
Little travails around
I
here.
keep looking
but,
at your former M3 there. That's-
Yeah, I know. It's like I wish it would just go away.
We don't want to talk about it.
No.
Yeah.
So you're bringing up a really sore subject.
I'm sorry. Don't hold it against me.
Yeah, I promise I won't.
Okay.
So we've got there's a Stewart, which is apropos since my name is Stewart.
of course,
A
yeah.
Diamond, a 1940.
Spelled the right way, too, I
Spelled
see.
correctly, absolutely. A Diamond T, the La France fire wagon with a steam-powered boiler behind it. That's a big Mack with a chain-driven Mack,
Oh, my
1920s.
gosh.
There's an international harvester.
Is that a Kaiser Darren or Kaiser down there?
No, that is a Studebaker.
Oh, Studebaker. Okay.
We'll,
All right.
We'll go get a closer look at that if we can sneak around down there.
Wow, you really have a great facility for all this.
Yeah, it works out. There's my baby right there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You are cruising in
I
style.
love that. That's the last year of that body style.
Okay.
And the 06, and that to me was one of one of my favorite body styles. I love the curved kind of wraparound rear window. And
Yes.
it's, like I said, it's supercharged, 5.5 liter, about 490 horsepower.
Are you a Tennessee Vol alumnus?
Well, I must be if I would have a stupid orange T on the back of my Mercedes, because I'm either a hillbilly or a Tennessee Orange Vol fan, or both.
Okay.
I'm probably a hillbilly. Yes, I grew up in Knoxville,
Okay.
and alumni of the University
Very
of Tennessee.
cool.
And miss it down there. It's a great part of the world.
Yes, it is.
And our basketball team has made it to the 32, whatever they call the Sweet 32, or no, they don't call it Sweet 32. They call
Something
it
to
something close
celebrate.
to that. So we're doing well in basketball.
Oh,
this
now
year.
now we're
Yeah.
closer, yeah. And that
Yeah,
looks
and
like
that's a
it's natural
Commander.
patina.
The very that's a barn find, obviously. Really interesting piece here, 1920 Aaron's Fox fire truck. What makes this piece rare is most fire trucks are not very collectible because they're so big. This one's got a front pumper on it, though, which makes it very, very desirable. And if you'll notice the pressure globe on the top up there, there's no seam on it. And the guy who built those wouldn't let anybody know how he built them without a seam. And he went to his grave not doing that. So any later ones in that will have a seam around them because nobody could figure out how to make them seamless.
And they still have it.
Still have. I mean, whether there's even a need for them, maybe somebody today could do it. But back in the 20s when this guy died,
Sure.
they had to go to a two-piece globe, if you will, because nobody could figure
hold
out.
it and get it out.
Yeah, they couldn't figure out how to
Used
make
a
it
balloon
work.
or something. Yeah.
Could have,
That's
But
pretty cool.
maybe he had very large lungs, and he could just blow into that thing and make steel grow. So, again, a little bit of everything.
You would have to take a night class and learn how to drive one of these
Yeah,
things.
it's crazy. I mean, just the history of trucks is the interesting part about trucks is that not many of them survived because you didn't just use those and put them away. You used those until they were just done.
Yeah.
They were just completely
Like a washcloth. You wring it all out.
exactly until it's completely done. It's like my grandmother used to do. She'd get mad at me because I'd throw away a sliver of soap. She said, use the sliver, then get the new soap wet, and then stick the two together. And then, by the way, with the butter, you can grease a pan with that package that it comes in. It's like, Jesus, what are we living in poverty here? I mean, coal mine in West Virginia.
Well,
we have no
Depression era definitely had to learn things the hard way.
You did. And the cool thing about it is that I like that. There's nothing wrong with being thrifty. There's nothing wrong with, spending where you got to spend, but save where you can save.
Waste is waste. You
Waste is
shouldn't be-
waste.
yeah.
You just shouldn't waste. And it's funny because, my dad was the same way about paper towels. 2 paper towels, that piss him off. Like, you really need, Mr. Rockefeller, you need 2 paper towels? No, but it does teach you a lesson. Of course, I said, is that a brand new Eldorado you drive every year, and how much do you lose at the Cadillac dealer when you trade that Eldorado in? But it's all relative, and people say, well, that's how Bill Gates won't do this or that, and well, that's how he got rich. No, it's not. He got rich because he was brilliant, smart, and created a cool product, and did what he needed to do. But I think that the point being is that certainly that generation was very, very conservative in a lot of ways, and most of our buyers are very conservative, and sellers are very conservative. They won't blink at spending $100,000 on a hot rod or a Corvette or a 35 Cadillac, but they still shop at Walmart. They still buy their clothes at Walmart. They still balk at a $3 bottle of water.
That gives them the discretionary income to do other things.
Exactly. They spend their money where they want to spend it. They wouldn't spend, $50 on a shirt to them is just ludicrous. I mean, but $100,000 on a hot rod is not. And so, it's all relative. My ex-father-in-law was a country music singer, and his daughter bought a brand new BMW. He said, "How much was that car?" And I said, "It was $60,000." And he kicked up those $10,000 leady boots. He says, "Well, that's a real waste of money."
Wow.
It's like, okay, that's your perspective. A $60,000 car is too much, but $10,000 boots are part of the norm.
It's our priorities. It's all relative.
It really is, and it's what your comfort level is, and you watch people spend a lot of money on a lot of different things, but there's, like I said earlier, God, the amount of discretionary income that people have nowadays. But it's interesting. There's a picture in here. It's the assembly line for the first Corvette that came off the line. And there's about 25 guys all standing around it in this black and white picture. You'll see all these pictures we got from Ford. Ford and General Motors sold us all these images. Excellent. And so it's got these guys, and they're all standing around this half circle around the very first Corvette off the assembly line in 1953. And the thing that's interesting about that is the guy in the rolled up sleeve white t-shirt had a wife and 2 kids. They had a nice house in the suburbs. They had 2 cars. They put both their boys through college. They took a nice vacation every year. They retired at 60 years old, and they had plenty of money to live with one income, live for the remainder of their life. That's gone. That is no longer exists. We were watching a show on television from the 50s, and it showed a wealthy family doing this and that, and you think, well, how could they afford to do it? It was actually affordable to be wealthy back in the 50s. You didn't need exponential amount of money more than nowadays to be
well, they didn't buy a
wealthy.
$900 iPhone every 11 months either.
Exactly, because we absolutely have to have it. No, we don't have to have it. My goodness. I always look at it this way. The phone I have now is way better than the phone I had before, and until it stops working, and they make them stop working, I'm certain of it. Plus, they listen to you on them, too, but that's a whole nother.
That's another show.
That's a whole other show. Maybe a little sidetrack there. But no, it is all relative. I mean, if you look at the stuff you have around your house and you think, all this stuff we did without. Now, listen, a cell phone is an integral part of my business, as is a computer. And so if you look at what makes sense in my business, then certainly we like to. We just got a car sale.
Oh, great! Congratulations!
Thank you. That makes for a good
you're
month.
doing the one a day. See?
Yeah, one a day.
Saturday,
check. Got Saturday done. But we got to get one for tomorrow because we're not open.
Okay, well, let's.
Don't.
It's
get
early.
all.
It's early.
Yes.
I'm pressure.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for you.
It's
Stuart.
only 10 till 10.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. So, but. The discretionary income thing, it's there's a lot more of it now, and people have a lot of money, and to go and spend $50,000, which is a lot of money, people don't even blink about it anymore. Go watch Barrett Jackson on TV.
Oh yeah.
You just can't believe how many people, or RM, or Gooding, or any of these high-end auctions, how many guys can buy $1 million car. I don't know. I don't care how much money I had. I would be a nervous wreck to raise my hand to buy $1 million car. I just couldn't fathom.
I can't
it.
see myself living in $1 million house, let alone
No,
driving.
Nor do I want one.
Yeah.
We just remodeled and added on to our house, and we live right here next to the mall because we're here all the time. We have a vacation home that we go to on the weekends or when we can, but. We live in a little modest little rancher that's right next door to here, and we added on to it. We kept it all one level. We just added on a nice master bedroom but we could have gone and built a house and added a bowling alley. It's like I don't even want all that stuff anymore. It's like
overhead.
It's all overhead and upkeep. It's like owning a boat. We're going to go out in a boat about 3 times in the summer. So let's just go rent one for about $400.
Yeah.
And
we know what the acronym BOAT stands for.
Yeah. Let's see. I do. I can't remember, but it was
break out another 1,000.
Yeah. Or that could be if you go to the dancing clubs too. But that's a whole other show as well too.
I have no idea.
That's the after dark show.
I don't know what you're.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to explain that.
I'll draw some pictures for you.
Pictures. Yeah,
graphs, charts.
Pictures would be great. I mean, actually,
I'll have to have your parents sign off on a waiver first.
But it's like anything. You could have all these things, but you start, especially the older you get, you start getting. I just turned 57, so the practical side of me kicks in a little bit more often than it used to, and the ability to go and dump a bunch of money at a casino or to do stuff like that really really just doesn't interest me as much as it used to anymore. You know, it used to be fun, or to go out. You know, it's painful to go out to eat anymore. I mean, it's not hard.
It can be. Yeah.
You spend a fortune going out to eat dinner, and you know, you think, gosh, I could cook just as good a steak at home. Mm-hmm. I could have just as good a bottle of wine for about a quarter of the price, and I don't have to drive and go anywhere. And I've got my nice setup here. You know, what am I doing? And it's not like, it's different if it's a social thing, but if you're just going to eat dinner with you and the wife, it's like, what's the difference? You know.
I hear you.
So, but. You know, it's what we've come to be used to and expect, and
it becomes our new norm.
It does
it's
become the new norm. It is hard to go back. It's. I would imagine it would be harder to be rich and then to be poor than it would to be poor and then to be rich, because I would think that it would be very difficult to go from having it all, which I've seen a lot of people do, and then to have nothing, you know, and just think, wow, you know. And then all of these old cars and all this becomes, you know, you kind of got to scratch your head and say, okay, what's the point? But I argue that the point is that these old cars are part of our history, and they're part of our culture, and the automobile shaped this country as much as anything else ever has or ever will. And granted, we'll lose combustion engines at some point in time, and that's just a fact, and there's nothing we can do about it, and we'll get past it. Listen, they make some pretty cool electric cars.
They do.
Mean, you know.
They do. But being that the Cars of Carlisle podcast has a following now, Germany, Argentina, Brazil, Sweden, Ireland, it is becoming global, like everything is becoming global. But it is really fascinating that Mustang's headed to Germany.
Absolutely.
That a lot of what we've created over the last 50, 60, 70 years is desired by those all over the globe.
We are stewards, not stewards,
right.
of these cars.
That's you.
I'm a steward, and really my name does originate from steward or servant, I think. Is what, so,
We won't go there.
Yeah, but we are stewards of these, and we should take good care of them. And I know people that own collections of cars that are more concerned about the quantity than keeping the quality and keeping them in pristine condition. And it bothers me a little bit, because I think that, listen, you know, you're just the caretaker of this car, and it's going to go to somebody else someday. So take care of it the best you can. Keep it as an original as you can. Yeah. I'm okay with resto mods, but, you know, obviously don't take a matching numbers 283 Fuely 58 Corvette and drop in an LS1 engine in it. You know, take one that the engine's gone, it's been replaced, whatever. I'm okay with that. Take a 4-door something and do something cool with it, because it's, you know, not the value. But leave alone the ones that are in that quality or in that category. Are most people wouldn't take them to change them anyway, but you'd be surprised what people do. And I hope that people don't get to that point where they take away the originality of these cars, because learning how to drive one of these cars is a rite of passage.
My dad would take us out in a rural drive car, and even before I was of driving age, but the local library parking lot, when there was a good 3-4 inches of snow, and say, I want you to know how to counter steer and be able to get yourself out of a bad situation. And now I love just to go out and hoon and have some fun, but it all came around from the fact of I knew how to handle a car well before video games, before things, and now it's instinctive, and I don't think we have that now.
No, we don't. I saved myself from totaling my first good car that I had, and because my dad had taught me that when you're plowing forward in a skid, to let your foot off the brake, which is, you know, nobody would think of that if somebody didn't teach you that. How would you know to let off the brake?
Yes.
That just doesn't. It's not instinctual. You want to push harder on the brake.
Yes, you do.
And so I saved my '76 455 4-speed Trans Am. I shouldn't have been driving in the snow anyway.
Well, with that big block, all that heavy weight up on the nose was all the more reason why it had to come off the.
And it had, you know, and all that horsepower, 220 from the factory. So nothing to sneeze at back in, you know,
not
1970.
The days of emissions.
I bought the car and it was 2 years old in '78. So
all the restrictions then. Well, Stewart, thank you so very much. I know this is a work day for you on a Saturday. You have given up a lot of your time. We at Cars of Carlisle certainly appreciate it, and I'm so excited to get this episode out. And for those that are in the greater Carlisle, Hershey, Southeastern, or wherever, I mean, it could be Maryland, that they maybe take an afternoon or evening and come up and visit.
Absolutely. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, regular business hours. Wednesdays we do an open house from 4 to 8. Saturdays 8 to noon, closed on Sundays. And so we welcome everybody to come up and see us. And
as far as where they can find you online, maybe
classicautomall.com. And we're located right on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, about an hour west of Philadelphia on exit 298. You can't miss us. Big sign says Classic Auto Mall in a former former outlet mall connected to a Holiday Inn. So we're visible, easy access to get to, and we'd love to welcome everybody to come see us. There's never an admission charge. We don't charge people to come in to see the collection or the cars for sale, and never will. That's one of our things. We want people to enjoy it.
Excellent. And do you have any major events coming up at all this season?
Yeah, we've got a swap meet coming up next weekend. That's going to be old car parts and a car corral area outside, and then we've got some other events that are in the works. We haven't finalized yet, but if you keep an eye on our website, we're working on developing a new event page, because there's a lot of people that want to have an event here. And if any car clubs want to have a meeting up here, we have a whole lounge and food court area. They're welcome to use the facility, no charge, no charge, so they can come up and use it and bring their car club. Because listen, the more car clubs that see what we do here, the more opportunity they've got, an opportunity to sell their car or buy a car here. That's the way we look at it, is that, ultimately we're in the sales business, and we don't want to be in the admission-based attraction business. That's a whole different animal. That changes the whole dynamic of what you're doing. Come on in, everybody come in, enjoy the cars. Don't be respectful of the cars, but enjoy them. Right. And we welcome everybody to come.
Well, and that still promotes the enthusiasm in the cars as well. It's not just
it's inclusive. Well, Stewart, thank you so
yes,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you guys so much.
Great.
Enjoyed it so much.
Okay, we're back to Studio A. Hope you enjoyed that. Tried to give the very best virtual tour of the Classic Auto Mall that we could, and cannot thank Stewart for just an incredible giving of his time, and he was there working on a Saturday morning and focused on the tour and giving us the background.
And just a really great guy. He's a people person.
Yeah.
He greets and meets, and he just showed us around, and what hospitality. It was great.
Most definitely. And look forward to Cars of Carlisle going back to visit future exhibits and future consignments. And I even told him a particular car that I have in mind that it's on my wish list that he's going to keep an eye out for me to add to my stable. But I am very, very impressed with the facility and the way they run their operations. And just as you heard, some of the business model and the principles of how they operate. The fact that they want this to be accessible and open to families and people to feel welcome to come. A very inclusive atmosphere. So I can't wait to go back and look forward to working with them in various capacities, perhaps in the future. Okay, so before we close, let's wrap up and give you the answer. I'm sure you caught the answer to today's trivia question. The trivia question was this: what vehicle was discussed by Stewart that has a value of over $750,000? And the answer is the 1958 Lister Jaguar. And as you heard, with the factory burning down, they sent it back. They had the original molds. They redid the entire bodywork on it, and it is, I won't say priceless, but it is an amazing car. I'd be afraid to even sit in it. It is unbelievable. So there's probably a future owner that will truly relish that car. And just to see it just as you walk into the building to the right, it is incredible. We'll have pictures out on Instagram. Scott's always Mr. Social Media. He's got Scott, probably 40, 50 pictures we have to choose from to get a handful
they all
out
will
there.
Be out there.
Well,
we'll put a handful of them out there.
All right, can't wait to have you come back next week. In fact, just to give you a heads up, we are just about celebrating our 1-year anniversary at Cars of Carlisle, so that's a bit of what we're doing behind the scene.
And a lot of episodes for you to catch up on if you haven't heard them.
As always, subscribe, rate, review. That means the world to us. It helps us out so much. Pass the word to friends and family. And for now, we'll say drive well.
And be well.
Take care.